Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Monday.
Good morning.
The Christmas decorations, man.
I mean, are you just not in the spirit? Should I call you the Grinch? I don't understand.
I have my my Christmas underwear on, but I'm not going to show it. We're good. We're good. We're good.
Just don't stand up. Okay.
Deck the halls.
Don't stand up. There are some things that can't be unseen.
And we're recording.
This is recorded. You know, I know we don't have an HR department, but even that may get us in trouble.
That's right. That's right. So, welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back. I feel refreshed. I feel ready to go.
Why?
I in particular am someone that I'm in my head a lot, just about everything, right? So getting that time to like not have to, it's one of the reasons I like cruises, right? Limited access. So even though I did at times spend time working on a deal and still working while I was on quote unquote vacation, it still forced me to just sit there and not think about anything other than what I wanted to have happen, and getting to spend that time with Courtney and having that one-on-one time without the distraction of the kids and work and everything else just gave us time to really map out what we want this year, this coming year, next year, and really the next couple of years to look like for us, and have some really good conversations around it. And I think that clarity and us being on the same page allows me now to come back and work even harder, right? And that's why I think it's so important that every single one of us has that clarity of what we want to have happen, because once you get that, now there's commitment and there's no turning back, right?
Well, and that's what I was hoping you were going to lead into on that one, because that's the whole game, right? The game is now won, and you guys are starting to figure that game out, right? That's all you have to do is figure out the kind of lifestyle you want to be living that puts a big ass smile on your face. That's it. And then you're going to find the people, the paths, the locations, the opportunities will be attracted to you to get you there. It's that simple, guys. It really truly is. But it takes that clarity moment, you spending the time to say, okay, how do we want to live? Where do we want to live? How do we want to, what kind of income do we want to have? Why do we want that income? What are we going to do with that income? What puts a big ass smile on your face? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to be? Who do you want to see? Where do you want to do? What's going on? Let's draw it out. Design the perfect life. Let's get fired up and let's go do something, man. Right?
Well, and I think it's easy to get lost in the everyday stuff, right? Like it's, I think Courtney and I have done a very good job for the most part. We got married very young. We're celebrating 15 years of marriage, and I'm this year, and I'm only 36. So we got married very young, but
that's where we know that Mike is really smart, because
I locked her up very young, and then locked her up with children, which then it sealed the fate, right?
Before she was smart enough to figure out what she was actually worth on the open market.
Exactly.
Brilliant move.
The best maneuver I ever made, right there. There should be some sort of Hall of Fame that I get inducted into at some point. But I think we've done a very good job since that time of like really trying to discuss and being on the same page about what we want. But it's easy to get lost when you start really even doing the business planning tool, right? For Christ's sakes, when I was building it, I'm building the tool out, and I'm like really focusing on like what I would want to map out if I was the one taking that business plan. And then all of a sudden my phone would ding, and then I'm doing that, and then a call would come in, and next thing I know, I'm distracted. I'm not focused on that at all. So it's easy for us to get very distracted, even if we're setting the intent to think about it and map it out. It's really easy. So that time away certainly helped to like really just say, all right, all we have to do today, I don't have anything else to do other than let's just sit down and like really talk about it. And we're fortunate enough to be able to do that on a beach while having a drink, right? So I think setting that time, and if that's not taking a trip, if that's not taking vacation for you, turn off your phone. Like if I was doing the business planning tool, like actually filling it out, which a lot of you have now started to do, I would turn everything off outside of that tool and sit down and do that tool for that 30 minutes or whatever it took you. So that's my advice. And I think it's super important, because you do, and things change, right? The plan we had at 22 when we were first getting married is different than what we want now. And I think it's important, like for her, understanding what she wants, right? So money itself isn't very important to her. It never has been, but she loves to travel. So the way I framed it to her was, where do you want to go? Like, what trips? Let's map it all out. What vacations do you want to take? Where are the places you want to see over the next 5 years? And then now we know, okay, we want to go see those places. Those places cost money. Let's map out, how are we getting there? What is it going to look like? And we literally mapped out vacations for the next 5 years, because that's important to her. And that's something she's going to get committed to, which now we know how much income we need to produce to allow us to go take those trips stress-free without thinking about it. And now all of a sudden the business plan becomes very clear on what we want to do. So the first text I sent when I got back into town was to Jeff saying, hey, very clear on what I want now. Going to go start buying some more properties. Going to run some deals by you. So I'm very clear on how I want that income to start coming in, the income that I need to come in to fuel what we want to have happen over the next 5 years.
And what that does is now he's got a target of money he needs to go make to throw down payments on pieces of property.
Right.
That's it. So now it's like, oh, cool. I can go sell a house and pull in 10 grand. Well, I need 60 grand for the house that we want to buy as an investment property. So I need to do 6 extra deals to go buy that house that's going to fund our future vacations. Sweet. Right. Yep. And then now it's about stockpile cash, stockpile cash, stockpile cash. But there's a purpose now, because he can actually now see that every deal closing is every year annual vacations paid for. Right. That's the outcome of why we're doing what we're doing. Right.
Yep.
So I love it. I just opened up the business plan tracker, and we have 14 people, guys, 14 that have actually taken the time to build out their business plans. So there's nowhere you're going to get if you don't know where you're going, guys. That's all we can do on that one. So enough on that subtle slap on the Monday morning there on that. But it's, guys, help us help you. Go on there. We'll send them, maybe put the link back in the training, and this morning we'll knock that out. So let's switch. Let's talk into the topic this morning, because I think it's super relevant to what we're talking about right now. And I started out, opened it up here. We dodged a bullet. Okay, we did. We dodged a bullet. We didn't know, guys. We still don't know what could come. But from what I see and the people I'm talking with and the gurus that I know personally that have a good pulse on what's going on in the market, we dodged a big ass bullet. I mean, this could have been catastrophic for the global economy and by default our industry and our livelihoods. Just catastrophic. And what do I mean by that? When rates could have, still could, but I doubt it, skyrocket, go up to 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5. There's calls up to 9, 9.5, and 10, right? Because if inflation kept running out of control, there's no other way, right? They think, to stop it rather than just slam the brakes down on the global economy. And had we gotten to the 7, 8, 9, 10s, that's just like pause button, a complete pause button. Well, we got a lot of people tapping the pause button, but that's a jamming the pause button when you start getting that high. And that would have been pivoting for all of us. We all would have had to figure out what to do in a landscape that we've never had to operate in. And some of you have, I have not, been selling in 10, 12, 13, 15, 18% interest rates. Either way, it really just forces the people that have to buy, and it would force prices way down, and it would just disrupt the entire economy. So that's why I said we dodged a big ass bullet, because we did, because that easily could have happened, still could unfold, but I think it's unlikely to unfold at this point in time. So then I wrote, and it seems that they will not continue to raise, which means the economy will likely strengthen. Retirement accounts, investment accounts are going to start going the right way, and things are going to go back to normal. Now, we're not there yet. We still have interesting micro markets and patterns. And yes, 6.5 is very different than 3.5. I get it, but it's very different than 9.5. Right. So I'm happy to be in the middle where we are, which means that things are settling down. The economy has some good indicators that show that people are starting, and I'm seeing it, right? We're raising our heads. People are looking around again. They're saying, well, I'm thinking about buying. Look at you. You're talking about buying investment properties. That a month and a half ago, you weren't talking about investment properties because you didn't know where the interest rates were going to be. And then if you had a HELOC, you don't know what that payment's going to be because it's tied to prime, and that keeps going up, and so do your rates and your payments, and all that other stuff is going on, which means you're like, hey, let's just bring some cash, we'll just sit on it. But that doesn't do anything for anybody except for the people renting out your cash that's in the bank. So now we have a normal market coming back, or do we? Because buyers are different, sellers are different, their mindsets are different, their thoughts are different, their objections are different, their timing is different. So we find ourselves here exhaling a little bit, but also in a land that we're not really sure what it's all about. You know, I was over at the South Tampa Christmas party over there the other night, and there's some super amazing agents across the country, and then the ones I haven't seen in a while in South Tampa, and really, really, really crushing it. And a lot of them crushing it in the past, right? Still holding on to what had worked before and wondering why production's not the same as it is this quarter as it was a couple of quarters ago and a year ago. And this isn't just one specific office, this is company-wide, this is nationwide. People are saying it's not like it was, right? The same clients, the same people, they're not transacting the same way. I've got to do things differently, right? And that's a hard realization. It's really kind of finding yourself in a whole new business when the markets change and pivot the way that they do. We're in the same industry, we're on the same field, but all of a sudden there's a new ball on the field. We got to learn how that one bounces. We got to learn how to control that one and do the things we need to do on that one. So it's a unique time that we're in, right? Which forces us, Mike, to figure out where's that balance, right? Between, let me keep my social presence up because I want to look good, but I'm hungry, right? How do I find that balance of going to grab a transaction, going to find who's buying and selling right now while building my Q2 business at the same time, right? So we get pulled in a lot of confusing ways when things change around us. So that's kind of the preamble into what we want to chat about. What are your thoughts there?
I think it, when we say this all the time, but it's consistent action in both, right? You have to be doing both. And I think that's where the bad habits really came over the last 18 to 24 months, because you didn't have to do a lot of both, number one. And number two, a lot of our more productive agents were so busy with deals right now and clients that wanted to transact right now that they didn't have time to be doing the other stuff, the long-term branding, the constant follow-up, that longer term play got put on pause because they were too busy focusing on the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 deals they were doing this month, and they didn't have time to breathe and think about, oh, but I also need to be creating content and doing those things and creating newsletters and following up. But if we actually take advantage of a lot of the things that you have here, the tools that we have in Moxie, the training that Jimmy consistently does on there, a lot of these things that are longer term branding plays can be put almost on autopilot, right? I mean, really, Moxie, from a newsletter perspective, from a follow-up perspective, from just making sure that you're touching base with emails with your past clients, those things can be done on autopilot, right? They literally can be set, and so they're just happening without you having to do anything. Now, you just picked up maybe 20, 30, 45 minutes, an hour a day that can be spent doing prospecting activities that are going to find you a deal right now, right? So I think it's super important that we're doing both. And obviously, my dog agrees if you hear him barking in the background. I think we're in an interesting time where now, like, you have no choice. Right now, you've got to do both. But we really should have been doing both all along, right? And so those that got some bad habits over the last 24 months, those are going to expose you unless you get to work right now. But it's a delicate balance. And so, but I think realistically, taking 30 to 45 minutes a day and following the daily marketing guide, which now includes some Moxie activities, setting up those automated systems to make sure that you have touch points every day. Like, those things are easy to do They're only going to take you 30 minutes to an hour every day. And that really will help build that Q2 business. It will help build that future branding while also still giving you time to go focus and find deals right now, whether that's for sale by owners or absentee owners or whatever prospecting lane you're in. You can easily do both, but you have to be doing both.
No doubt about it. One thing I think is an interesting way to kind of train ourselves a little bit differently in our mind is every deal we do is, it doesn't sound fun just to go out, go get a deal, go prospect and find a deal, right? But when you transition your mind to saying, I'm finding my future past client, right? I'm finding $130,000 is what I'm doing. So the deals that you go find this week are going to be $130,000 into your career bank account, and which really pays you well when you truly think about it. And then you just simplify this whole thing down. What we've been chatting about, going through some numbers from a coaching perspective with a lot of the agents who are doing what they need to be doing, is it's averaging out to about 50 connections. After you have 50 good connections, you get a deal. So how do you simplify that any more than that? So if 50 contacts equals $10,000, how much is each contact worth? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. I mean, how do you simplify that any more than your whole business on there? So that's just the fun part of.
But again, it all comes back to one key thing though. Do you need one deal? Do you need two? Do you need three? Do you need five? Do you need half of one? What do you need? Because until you know what you actually need from a deal perspective, once you know that, now all of a sudden, yeah, you know if you need to make 50 good contacts or 100 good contacts or 500 good contacts to obtain the number of transactions you need to live the lifestyle you are saying you want to live.
We'll simplify it even more. So the math's simple. $200 every time you talk to somebody is what you make, right? $200. So
Right.
no matter what your goals are, it's divisible by 200.
Well, the business plan calculator does it for you, but that's
right.
my plan, is that 14 of you have actually mapped that out. If you don't know what that number is for you, how do you know when, how do you know when you're done? How do you know what you actually need? Like, I still equate this. It's the simplest analogy is just, you would never just get in your car and just start driving. You just wouldn't, and be like, oh, I hope we get somewhere.
Well, somebody
Like
says, yeah, I do. I go cruising around for fun. Yeah, but you know you're going to end up home.
Right. That's different though. That's different because that's a joyride and you're just going around to drive around and you know where your destination is. It's where you started.
That's right.
So let's play that out. Are you happy where you are today? Because if you don't plan, 1 quarter from now, you're going to be exactly where you are right now.
You're going to be behind where you are right now.
Yeah, true. You're probably gonna miss your turn and be even worse. But that's my point, is most of you don't want to be exactly where you are in this moment. You want to be better. You want to be further along. But if you don't map that out, you're not going to get there. If you do not figure out what destination you actually want to end up at, you are not going to get there. It's not just magically going to happen, especially in a normal market where you actually have to go work very hard to get and find those deals. It's not going to just magically happen.
And it's not the deals, right? It's what the deals create. And what the deals create are ultimately a feeling, right? So if you really get in touch with what we're doing this for, it's a feeling. So if we went through the whole discussion with you and Courtney about your goals and your income and your investment properties that spit off a certain amount of money every month, that's going to create something for you.
Yeah.
Right? And ultimately it's a feeling. How would you describe the feeling once that's accomplished for you and for Courtney?
Yeah, I mean, it's just that. It's that feeling of like, just, we set out for me, it's the set out of, I love achieving something I set out to do, right? So it's more for me, it's almost the competitive spirit, right? I've always been very competitive with myself.
Yeah, but
But
when you win, it makes you feel something.
what?
But when you win,
Oh yeah, it's
that
that
gives you
feeling of
a gift.
accomplishment, right? For me,
Accomplishment.
that's what it is. It's that feeling of accomplishment. For her, it's the feeling of that experience of being able to give it to her and the kids. She like wants to expose the kids to those things. So for her, it's even that excitement of being able to like go and experience something new. Like I'm weird in that like I could literally never leave Tampa ever again and probably be okay. Like I love it. I love enjoying it with her, and I love being able to give that experience to her because I know it means something. For me personally, if you said, "Hey, you've got to live in this bubble of Tampa Bay forever," I'd be like, cool. I'm good with that, right? I like my environment. I like everything here. I'm good with that. But I know that's not what she wants. So the feeling for me though is that accomplishment of being able to give her whatever she wants and giving the boys that experience, because they don't need to want just what I want, right? And so that you got to figure that out for you, because that's different for every single person. In the same way it's different for me and her. Right? She wants to experience different things than I want to experience, but I want her to experience those things, and that's what I get out of it. So it's just, you just got to figure that out for you and for your spouse or whoever you're doing it for. But again, it's having that clarity. And at the end of the day, the mission is still the same. She wants to go experience places. I want to be able to let her experience those places without any stress. And that requires income. Same thing.
A certain specific income.
Correct.
Right? Which gives you that feeling of accomplishments, which allows you to go do stuff.
Correct.
Like, mine's simple. It's one word. It boils down to, for me, it's peace. Right?
Yep.
The byproduct of what I'm doing right now is not peaceful. But I get attacked like in every aspect of my life on a daily basis. Right. And so I'm excited to not have that happen. So peace will be a result of me hitting the income level that I'm looking forward to getting.
I can't wait until you find out that I'm the anonymous people that just like send you hate mail on Facebook.
So, but it's fun. But every one of us has something that puts a big ass smile on my face. And then the other, it's enjoyment. Like, I have little mosaic tile pieces going into these projects with little secret messages for the people that don't like. So, and you laugh, but when the sun comes up at a certain angle, you'll see a little glimmer. So, but that makes me happy. Puts a big ass smile on my face. But that's the whole. That's what it comes down to, guys. So when 14, I am going to give you guys some shit about this one, because that business planning calculator is probably the best one I've seen. Right? It's a blend of the best in the whole industry, infused with all the stuff that we're doing, and we say at a nonstop level, to put you in the position so you know exactly what you have to do to put a big ass smile on your face. That's it. It doesn't get any more simple. Now it makes you think, and it's painful, some of the points, because it forces you to realize how much you're spending. How much do you really need? What are the goals? I mean, it puts you in an accountability spot, right? And because now you know what you're supposed to do, it's really nice when you live in a world where you don't have any accountability, because then no one's going to do anything to you, because there's nothing that you have to hit. Right. So that's an interesting quote on this one. So
when you remove all excuses, it's uncomfortable.
It is.
It just is, right? It's uncomfortable, but it's time to. But at the end of the day, though, there's so much power in that, right? There's so much power in realizing that all of this, everything that you want to accomplish is within your control, because you can't control the interest rate. You can't control how people are going to respond to the interest rate. You can't control the political environment, the war. You can't control any of it, but you can control setting your intentions. You can control understanding your plan, where you want to be, and then controlling your actions that actually help get you there. That's all in your control. And whether you do it or you don't do it is entirely your fault. And that's uncomfortable, but powerful at the same time, because if it's your fault, it means you can fix it. I don't like when things aren't my fault because I feel powerless because I don't have any power to actually go fix it. But if it is my fault and I have all the power, man, I'm pumped, because now that means if something didn't go the way I wanted, now all of a sudden I'm in control and I can go change that. And so I personally love accountability for that reason, but it's uncomfortable. It doesn't make it easy. You have to get to that mindset.
Well, there's three things. This is an overarching strategy, and especially thread inside the mastermind, right? And it's three words: clarity, focus, and accountability, right? You need all three. You have to have all three, or else there's nothing that's going to ever happen, right? And some of you can hold yourselves accountable. Great. Some of you can't. Great. Doesn't matter, right? Or some of you can do a little hybrid of both, but either way. But if you have accountability, but you have no focus, there's nothing to hold you accountable to, and there's no clarity of vision, then there's nothing to focus on. And so it's clarity, focus, and accountability. Those three things have to be part of your world. It has to, because clarity and focus. Give you a good example. We're about to launch a phenomenal project, right? Ridiculous project, 167 units. Probably now we're talking about this morning, probably $150 million in sales, right? Which is millions of dollars in commissions for us to earn, right? Now, as rates were climbing into this 5s to the 4s to the 5s to the 6s to the 7s, projected to the 10s, I'm not very happy, right? But I still have clarity and focus and accountability, right? In the terms of millions of dollars of investors, right? Which is ultimate accountability to make sure things happen. So clarity and focus just overcomes everything. So what did we do? What did I start doing as rates started going up? I was not going to ever not sell this building out. That's not even a possibility, because the clarity and focus is there and my accountability is strong. So what did I do? I reached out to the master franchise owners in Germany and all of Latin America and the immigration attorneys to structure immigration opportunity visa programs, as I see the EU and other international monetary areas declining, the people wanted to come into the US dollars. So I was even willing to forget about US sales, right? They were going to happen or they weren't. Yep. But the clarity and focus was there. What it does is that I didn't know that was where I was going to end up, but the question is, how am I going to get these sold, right? And then the ideas started coming and the paths started to show up. And funny, I ran into people who know good immigration attorneys, and then I get a phone call from a project down in Costa Rica, and I'm working with that, and then introduces me to the new international head of C21, who introduced me to the Latin American president of the whole master franchise region, who I introduced my developer partner into, and then the German group where we did the master franchise thing, and then all my Irish connections over there. So now it became an international focus. I didn't care how it's going to get in. It's fuck how, right? It's the clarity, focus of sellout, and didn't matter. Other opportunities were flowing through to make sure that happens. Now that's just an example, because that's my primary aim, is to sell that building out, because it will do a lot of things for a lot of people, right, including myself, right? So that's my primary aim focus, is to sell that building out. I don't care how. I don't, because I promised I'm going to get it sold to all the people that invested, right? And myself as my primary aim. But same thing with you. When you have your vision of Mike and Courtney's life is going to bring in X $1,000s a month, fuck how, right? Yeah. He could end up writing a book next month about how fucked up the real estate business is, and that brings in enough residuals to bring in that income to go do what he needs to go do. That opportunity might present itself, who knows, right? So you have to be open to all those ideas, but in the meantime, he's going to keep plugging along, right? Everything I do, we keep plugging along, because we have clarity and we have focus and we have accountability, right? Those are the three things, guys. I'm telling you, that is.
Well, I think it allows you to make better decisions, right? On what you take on and what you don't take on. Because now when opportunities do come my way, I have a filter to run it against, yep. Right? I can sit there and internally say, okay, does this work towards what I'm trying to accomplish, yep. Right? Is it going to help me get there? And if it is or could, I say yes. If it's, oh no, that's cool, but it's going to be a distraction, and it's going to take away from what I'm actually doing over here, which is going to likely get me to where I want to be faster. Yep. So I'm going to say no.
Yep.
Right. But if I don't have something to run it against, I'm saying, yeah, sure, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. And next thing you know, you're not really doing anything that's actually advancing you to where you want to be. Instead, now you're just moving in a bunch of different directions.
Well, that's the focus, right? You and I have a problem, big problem, because we constantly come up with ideas.
Yeah.
Right? And we physically have to, we created a parking lot,
Yes.
right? Say, awesome idea. It goes in the parking lot because we're not allowed to do what's not on our plan for this quarter. We can't even talk about it until next quarter. And then we see what do we want to pull out of the parking lot for next quarter. Right? If not, it would be, you guys, it would be really bad.
It would be bad.
Poor
Really.
Craig, right? Thank God we have a parking lot for Craig's sake. Right?
We might be responsible for Craig's vodka bill. I'm not.
but that's it. But that's the focus. That's the focus, because when you start thinking, okay, I'm going to hit 20 expireds or withdrawals this week. Okay. Yes, it's also a good idea to go make gingerbread fucking cookies and knock them and deliver them to people's doors. Great idea that you saw in a real estate mastermind Facebook group this morning. Great idea, but it's not your focus. Go call your 20, right? It's also a good idea to do a lemonade stand at the PTA school and meet people with a t-shirt on. That's great too. It's not your focus, right? It's also a great idea to do mailings. It's also a great idea to start a new Facebook page. It's also a great idea to do some TikTok videos. It's also a great idea. It's also a great idea, but it worked for Sarah, but look what's working for Kevin. Look what's working for Susie. Look what Jessica's doing. Oh, I should do the app Jessica's doing. That must be why she's doing well. Oh my gosh, look what Andy's doing. I better do what Andy's doing. Look what Sherry's doing. Oh my goodness, look at that. No focus, no business, right? And that's why you got to stay in your lane with clarity of end, with focus and accountability, right? That's what's great about the mastermind. It's nothing secret bullet. There's nothing secret happening in the mastermind. It's just get clarity, get focus, and here's your accountability. That's it, right? And there's nothing new. We laugh about it all the time. Craig and I did again this morning. What are we to talk about today? There's nothing new to talk about. There's nothing new to talk about except the fundamentals and getting better with the mental conditioning, the strength conditioning, and the execution of your playbook. That's just what it is, which is clarity, focus, accountability. Same thing. I don't care if you're any sport, any business, anything, you've got to have clarity, focus, accountability. And the problem, why do most agents suck in this business? Not our group, but in the industry wide. How could you have an 80% shit rate, right? Like 80% of the people who have their license in an industry suck ass. They don't do anything because there's no clarity, there's no focus, there's no accountability. 63 hours to sit on a class and cheat on your test, and you can now handle the largest financial transaction in most people's lives. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke to get into this industry, which is why it's phenomenal for those of us with clarity, focus, and accountability to run circles around your competition, because they're not even competition. There's not any competition. Then no one's going to get in the way of your goals. No one's going to get in the way of your income. No one's going to stop you. They don't. They will not. There's nothing to stop you except your lack of clarity, focus, and accountability. Right? And not just that, it's what happens when, right? We talk a lot about getting the clarity and focus to go make the contacts. That's the easy part, right? Then you get into, all right, now I got a lead. And if you don't have clarity, focus, and accountability on your leads, why are you even getting leads? If you don't know how to put them into Moxie, we'll teach you. Reach out and say, hey, how do I put these leads into Moxie? Simple question, no judgment zone, no problem, we'll help you. And then now when you have clarity and focus, because you're like, hey, you know, every 50 of these equals $130,000 to me. Think about that for a second. So we'll do that quick math on it because it's still early on that. We were talking about $200 every time you do something, but it's really $130,000 every time you do something. So it's $2,600 every contact you make. Does that reframe things a little bit? I'm going to earn $2,600 every real estate conversation I have. Would that reframe it for you? That's pretty awesome. It's pretty exciting for what we're actually doing, right? I mean, really, That's it. Now, it doesn't matter. We started talking the mastermind a lot on Friday. Doesn't matter how you attract your conversations. It could be your Instagram presence, bringing people to send you DMs. Awesome. It could be your postcards. Awesome. It could be you at the PTA meetings or the baseball fields. Awesome. Doesn't matter your method of attracting attention, right? But attention is step one, so you can have a conversation. So the conversation is the thing that pays you the $2,600. How you attract that conversation is what you need to start thinking about. There's a million.
Again, all of this comes back to having your plan. And that's why the last part of the business plan with your non-negotiables, to me, is one of the most important parts, because again, once I know the plan and what I'm working towards, now I have something I can run things against, my filter, to say, should I do this? Should I not? And that also gets run against your non-negotiables, so that you don't get burned out, that you don't start regretting what you're doing. Because the biggest thing you can do is say, I've got these financial goals, right? But I'll just use me as an example. If all of a sudden I got so focused on the financial goals that started requiring that I was missing my kids' baseball tournaments every weekend to go do, these deals. And yes, those were getting to me where I needed to be financially, but not now. All of a sudden, 2 or 3 of those go by, and I'm going to sit there and go, wait a minute, like I'm going to start resenting my goal because it's making me regress on my non-negotiables, which is being there and being present for my kids on those activities, right? And so for me, that's not worth it. So what I have to do now is build that into my plan, and that's a non-negotiable. I know that I don't have that time, right? So when someone comes to me and says, hey, this weekend, for example, my kids play, it's their last tournament of this season, and they come to me and say, hey, can you show me this $700,000 house on Saturday? My answer is no. Now, I can have somebody else show it to you. I can refer you out. I can still take care of them. But I know that I'm going to say no personally. And if that means that I have to, for whatever reason, give that up or give some of that income up, I'm okay with that, because I've built out my plan knowing that I'm not going to show home this weekend because I'm busy with my kids, and that's a non-negotiable, right? So it allows you to know when you can say no and what you are not willing to bend on, which ultimately allows you to get to where you want to be and be happy. Because at the end of the day, you still have to enjoy the process. And for me, I would not enjoy the process if I'm making sacrifices to that degree. Yes, everything takes a sacrifice. It's not easy all the time, and there are hard decisions you have to make. And for some of you, if it's a difference between putting food on your table or going to your kid's baseball game, go put food on your table. That's a different conversation.
Right.
For me, that's not the case, right? So, and at the same time, like I'm in a situation where I can't just go out and do 7 deals a month, because I have a job for the company that I also have to do, and I wouldn't be able to do that job effectively if I was doing that. So I have to take that into account. So and all of you have these things. These are just my things, but everyone has their things and their requirements, their responsibilities. Just map that in. But you can't handle those things and have a clear map around that if you're not actually taking the time to map it out. So that's why the plan is so important. So for those of you that haven't done it, which is most of you, if the reason you haven't done it is because you just don't think you need to, I would rethink that. I think you do, because I think it really simplifies down your ability to say, yes, I need to do this, or no, I don't need to do this. And for me, that's super important. It allows me to accomplish what I want to accomplish while also still doing the things I really want to do that matter to me, which I call my non-negotiables. So I just
that's an important part. And then you have the decisions to make. So if somebody called you and said, hey, I got a 1031, I need to pick a property by Sunday, I got 15 million bucks I need to spend, it's going to throw 120 grand into your bank account, and I'm definitely working with you, Now he's got a decision to make with Courtney because that's one property faster, right? Or he's going to do everything he can to move that appointment. But if you can, right, so you always are going to have those internal struggles, right? When things go along the way, and then you get to decide whether or not you're going to bend or not, but you know what's going on, right? So it's interesting. So dad comes over this weekend. We go over with the kids, and we've been having the kids went to John's Pass. We go play under the sand and play on the beach and go get food and just hang out. And then, of course, where the conversation every time where dad is, and I think he's online right now, is primary aim. Where's your most recent copy of it? Right. And he busts me on it because it's not my normal form. I've got it all in my notes on my phone, very clear to me, but not clear as it has been in the past. Right. So mine in the past 14 pages, right, with visuals and pictures and things. Now I have them all scattered around. I've got a picture of my pool, I got a picture of the boat, I got a picture of the colleges and all this stuff I want to make sure set up for the kids and that. So, but it's not organized in a way that it normally is for me. So that kind of refocused me onto getting clarity, focus, and accountability. He's my accountability, right? I know how to do it. I just didn't do it because life has gotten in the way. So all of us need this talk, right? On a nonstop basis, Craig included, right? Craig's working on his primary aim right now. I'm working on my primary aim. You're working on your primary aim. All of us, because it's constant and never-ending improvement. What puts a big ass smile on my face right now is very different than it was 5 years ago, and it's very different than it was 2 years ago, different than it was a year ago, and it will be different again a year from now, and a quarter from now. So that's why it's like once you have that clarity and focus, you have freedom to tweak it, but at least it gives us a goal. Why do you think we put a deadline of 90 days? Because it's too hard to pin yourself down for a 5-year period. But it's good to have that final destination that's tweakable. You could say, I want to live on an island. Well, you can go in the middle of Tampa Bay and do that. Well, that's not the one I meant. Okay, well, which one do you mean? And then you have to start figuring out which island, right? And why, and what do you want on the island? How do you want to get there? What are you going to do? If that's your thing. So it just keeps tweaking. And then you're like, well, I went to that island and I didn't really like that one. So I still want to be on an island, but not that one. Right? Then you start to peek around and tweak a little bit. That's your end game. And like, well, I really like that one, but it's a lot more expensive than the other one. But now I need to make a little bit more income so I have more cash flow so I can be at that lifestyle because that's a different level, right? And then you get to that one, you're like, oh, cool, this is nice, but wow, did you see that one? And then you have the flexibility to change your next levels and just go to where you need to be. But without that clarity, it doesn't give you any focus. And then now you need accountability to make things happen. So when you have partners and deals, it's phenomenal because it's de facto accountability. When you have a partner like your wife or your spouse or your brother, your sister, your goat, whatever it is that holds you accountable, then you've got somebody to look at and actually acknowledge whether you're on track or not. And then when you're off track, to give you a little nudge and say, it's okay, let's go back on track now. Right? What do we do in the mastermind? Fridays, if we didn't hit our 100 contacts, it's okay. You know how to. You got till Monday. Let's go make it up. How important are your goals? If your goals are important and you're at 60 and you have the weekend to get to 100, we'll see how important it was to you, right? Because you either hit 100 by now or you didn't. And that means that those goals weren't that important to you, which is okay. We just have to recalibrate the lifestyle you're going to be living because you're not going to live that lifestyle with that level of action. So let's either do one of two things, lower your standards or raise your output. There's no other choices. So either do the same thing to different people. What do I mean by that? Go sell a $2 million house instead of a $400,000 house. Your check gets dramatically bigger. Same thing. Go sell one of our $3.8 million cash flow properties. That's a little better than a $300,000 house. 10 times better, actually, if you do the math, right? So we get to control what we want to bring into our lives because based on the clarity and the focus, right? Think about the neighborhood you're focusing on. Think about the sphere. All of us have a sphere. All of us have a very diverse sphere. I got some really sick ass, rich ass people, as do all of you in your sphere. And I've got some of the brokest people on the planet in my sphere too, right? They're all cool people. They're just different. If I'm going to choose who I'm going to spend time with to try to grow my business, I'm probably going to go towards the rich person section of my sphere this week, right? If I want to raise my game and raise my check amount, I'm going to go sell higher end properties to higher end people that might want to buy things at a different price point. So but it's a choice of how we spend our time, but it's the clarity and the focus, right? Every one of you, every one of us has the same MLS. Every one of us has the same remind. Every one of us has the same forewarn. Every one of us has the ability to get set up for notifications for every $1 million plus expired listing that's hit the market over the last 6 months. Every one of us has a voice. Every one of us has fingers. Every one of us has the ability to dial and talk. The question is, some people made the calls, some people didn't, right? That's the difference. Some people's drunk monkey won, and some people were able to quiet it down. It just depends on the clarity and focus, because clarity and focus creates action, right? Or lack thereof. If you have fuzzy clarity, which isn't clarity, then you have no focus, and then you don't need accountability because nothing to hold yourself accountable to. You're just going to float around. So that's where we are, guys. That's what my outcome as a result of this is, to make sure that we get that form filled out, get that business planning done. Melissa just wrote, I'm a little confused filling out the form. I filled it out based on the current last quarter goals, not my 23 goals. Should I redo it? Melissa, knowing you, yes, because here's the thing, your competence and your confidence has improved, right? And your competence and your confidence of last quarter was a result of your income in last quarter, was a direct result of your competence and confidence from the quarter prior to that, right? So the benefit of doing everything that we're doing and tuning into way you guys are tuning in right now is that your confidence and competence is raising every meeting you attend. Every time you log in, you're getting better. Every time you're stretching, and every time you're thinking about different things in a different way, and you're getting a little bit more confidence saying, I can do it. I deserve it. I can be better. You know what? He's right. Why don't I pull out the expireds that are $1 million plus and let me go on to find homes in the States? Let me kind of just touch up on our listing presentation a little bit. Let me make sure my Moxie is including some Find Homes in the States materials. Maybe you guys should order some business cards with the Find Homes in the States logo on that. Why don't I rebrand myself as a luxury master? You know what? I'm going to go do that because I can and I deserve it and I know how to make this happen. It's the exact same work as a $200,000 house, as a $2 million house. Exact same thing. It's just an internal game between your brain, between your ears. Exact same. It's actually easier, right? The more zeros, the easier the transaction, right? And that's the truth, I can tell you. Right now, the different stress points along the way, different maneuvering, but you've got us to help you. We've done it. So the long answer is yes, because you're better than you were 2 quarters ago. And your vision is better of what you want. And your clarity and your focus is stronger than what it is. And now you have more accountability than you had before. So every one of those answers is yes, 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 which means you're better than you thought you were. So you can raise your goals higher. Okay? And that's not just for Melissa, that's every one of you that's watching this live and on the replay. I mean, this is it. I mean, I hope you guys are fired up, man, because I can't believe it. I mean, I was joking. We were with Taylor the other day driving around and we're walking through the projects and I'm like, I can't believe we actually get paid to do this, right? I mean, it's just fun. It's fun to find people, to help them do cool stuff that they're going to go do, but protect them along the way and meet cool people and then tap into their sphere and have it produce sick ass money to create cool things with big ass smiles, to do nice stuff for your friends, your family, your community. I mean, how lucky are we to be able to do the things that we do, guys? It's unbelievable. But it goes back to clarity, focus, accountability over and over and over and over and over on this one. So how do you do this? How do you get better focus and clarity? Let's end on that thought. Mike, what do you think? What are some ways that to start thinking bigger?
I mean, it all comes back to, I think, taking the time to go through the business plan is going to force those thoughts, right? It's going to force you to start having at least the internal conversation with yourself about where you're at and where you want to be. That it's vital. And if you have a spouse, if you have a significant other, if you have somebody else in your life that you're doing this with or for, have the conversation with them too. But it can't be solely about what they want, right? It's got to be a combination. And it doesn't mean you two are on the exact same page necessarily. And that's important to know too. because maybe that means you got to do both, right? So maybe that means that you got to build a bigger plan because there's got to be cash for what you want to do and cash for what they want to do. So but you don't know that unless you start having those conversations. And I think for me, that's where it all starts, because if you're doing it any other way, it's bullshit. It just is. It's not real. Until you can sit down and have that conversation with yourself and with that most important other person in your life that's going to be on that ride with you, if there is one, it's bullshit. Now, once you've had it with yourself internally and you know that's what you want and you know that's what they want, now the plan gets real. And that's when things can start to happen. And that's where we start to get to the focus and clarity. But it's not going to happen magically. You've got to have these difficult conversations with yourself first and understand what you truly want. And it can't be bullshit. And that's why I call it the toddler syndrome, but like you have to run through a series of whys, right? I really want to go there. Why? Why do you really want to go there? Right? Well, I really want to make $1 million. Why? Right? And if you just keep asking yourself why, you start to get to the answer, or you start to get to actually, I don't really want that.
That's right.
Interesting. I thought I wanted that.
I thought I wanted that.
I've been there a lot. There's a lot of things I'm like, yeah, that sounds nice. And then I start going through, I'm like, actually, I really wouldn't want that.
That's right. And things you work hard to get, then once you got them, you're like, I don't really want that.
Yeah. And there's been times, right? There's been things that I've bought that I'm like, yeah, I really want that. And then I buy it. I'm like, I don't really want this. I am selling it.
Yeah.
Like it didn't, maybe I thought it was going to give me some sense of something, and it didn't give me the feeling that I thought it was going to give me, or whatever it was. Right. But you don't know that unless you actually take the action or have that real conversation with yourself. And that's why it can't be surface level, and you got to keep asking why, because you got to dig deep, and it can get painful. It can. It's not easy. It's not an easy and comfortable conversation to have with yourself or with your significant other, especially when you know that they want some different things. But what you start to realize is that those things align at some degree.
Or they don't.
Or they don't. Yeah. And that's okay too. That doesn't mean you're going to get a divorce. What it means is that you just now know that you have two different things that you're working towards, and that's fine. But now let's build a plan that works towards both of those.
That's right.
Right. But again, you don't know that until you start having a conversation. So for me, it's all about having that conversation, getting it out there, whether that's with yourself or whether it's with somebody else as well. And having those difficult conversations is key.
And I think it starts with yourself, right? Because what do you hear when you're on an airplane? In the event we have a loss of cabin pressure, you're going to see oxygen masks drop down. Yep. And they don't say put it on the person next to you first because you're going to die. It says put the shit on your own mask, your mask on yourself first, and then take care of the people that are around you, right? Because you're no good to anybody if you're not here, right? So first step, what puts a big ass smile on your face, right? And then have your spouse do the exact same thing. What puts a big ass smile on their face? And then you combine those and see where the similarities and the differences are. And there's some negotiation from there to say, okay, well, I really don't want to do that. I'd like to do this. What about if we did this? Well, that works for me. What if it work for you? Okay, now we have a clear vision. We have clarity, we have focus, and we have now accountability. In order to do this, honey, we need to bring in X dollars, which means I'm going to have to go do these things, which are going to have this type of time requirements, which means this is going to happen as a result. Now we have a business plan. I'm going to have to go on 4 appointments a month. I'm going to have to go on. Some of them might end up being on a Saturday. Is it worth it for us to go do this, right? Are we on the same plane? Do we have the same clarity of this vision? Is it worth it? Right? It is. Okay. Then don't give me any shit when I have to be out on Saturday afternoon, right? Because it's going to the clarity and the focus to give us what we want that puts a big ass smile on our face. It's not all sunshine, lollipops, rainbows, and unicorns, right? There's going to be hiccups along the way, but is that clarity and focus worth it to us? It is, then let's go. Here's how you can help me. Here's how I can help you. Let's do it. And let's kind of regroup on this thing. That's what we do. But it's not enough to make other people happy. right? You've got to be happy yourself, right? So one of the biggest things is what puts a big ass smile on your face. And that's what the business plan does as well. And even to piece of scratch paper, guys, right? I'm in the process of doing this right now with my coach, right? What puts a big ass smile on my face? I honestly was having a hard time coming up with that list because I've been very absorbed in a lot of the things that I'm doing, which I know will, but I don't want to have future smiles on my face. I need them now, right? So what puts a big ass smile on your face right now? And this quarter, not a year from now, not 3 years from now, not 5 years from now, right now. And that's got to incorporate into your plan. Do you need a little bit of time for yourself? Do you need a little bit of time away with your spouse, right? Do you need a little bit of whatever it is for yourself? You got to get those on that list of non-negotiables as well, because you got to enjoy the journey, which is the important part of this too. So that's that. So, well, we got a little deeper than than just branding and prospecting, but there's no point in branding and prospecting until these make sense.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
So takeaways.
Build your plan. That's my takeaway. Start having the conversation with yourself, start having the conversation with your spouse or significant other, and build your plan. Map it out, know where you're going to go. Even if you don't use the business planning tool, fine. Use something. Use another one, use a piece of paper, use the notes section of your iPhone, like use something and just map that out, get some clarity on what you want to have happen. And then it'll start to be much easier to build the plan. Now the calculator is going to make it easy because it's going to do a lot of the math for you and it's going to help you kind of figure it out. But if that's not your thing, fine. But just get some clarity on where you want to go. And then the how will start to present itself.
No doubt about it. And have fun, guys, right? This is a fun business, but it's really only fun when you're enjoying it right now, right? Which means you got to find the way to enjoy the journey. You got to find a way to make it a sport, right? Enjoy the connections, enjoy the attraction of people. They enjoy the connection of actually making them feel comfortable. Enjoy the ability to figure out, are they DISC, VDAKs? Enjoy the ability to just have fun and connect with people, guys. And that's going to make the journey a lot more fun along the way. So that's the takeaway for me is, and Lauren just wrote it, just do it, right? But understand what it is. So let's just define it, right? Is really, then go do it and execute it on that one. So there you go. All right, for our big ass smilers, masterminding, we're going to be popping over into my room, which is on the other room. So that's in your email, a link to that one too. So that ends this beautiful segment, and welcome back, Puma. It's always good.
Yep, and glad to be back.
We'll be chatting later today.
Yes, sir.
Hey guys, see you.
All right, see you guys.